Welcome everybody to the Genesis Mindset. Tonight I'm going to look at the Atropa F D, and it's by no means comprehensive. I'm just going to have a look at the Atropa ecosystem, look at the Atropa F D, look at the system that's being designed around that, and I'm going to go down memory lane, looking at how mariarahel, the 414/501 dev, spoke of the Atropa ecosystem as being a financial system really back in the early days of the Chatlog. So I'm going to bring up some quotes from that, and then we'll take a look at these worms that Maria spoke of. Well, didn't really say anything, as well as going into the minting and burning within the Fed and the Treasury bill. And if anyone wants to contribute to the conversation, the link is in the description. But I'm also going to post it in the chat as well, because obviously I'm by no means an economist, by no means an expert. I'm just trying to figure this shit out. So first of all, yeah, let's have a look at the macro with Atropa. So I used to always compare it to Pulse Chain, but these days I compare it to Pulse X. I mean, it's kind of the same, but I, in my mind, feel like Pulse X is going to outdo Pulse Chain. So yeah, I just like to compare the macro movements of Pulse X with the rest of the market. So obviously Atropa, we're still, I mean, nothing's really changed too much. We had this scam week here, which was the Interpol news on the, what day was this? This is the 3 days. So I think it was the 24th or something or thereabouts. And so my thesis is it's still going to come down to here. And let's see. And so let's actually see what it looks like between Atropa and DAI stablecoin, because this is really, Pt I. Okay, so again, we're really seeing, so this here is the DAI, the yellow is actually the DAI chart. So basically, as this ratio between Atropa and Pt I was moving sideways, Pt I price was going up. Oh, is that correct? Let's double check that. I'm not sure if I've got that correct or not. I thought it was inversely related. So what have I done there? Let me just double check that. Maybe I accidentally deleted it. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I accidentally deleted it. Sorry. So this is actually down in Atropa. And so this one here is actually, horrendous. It's way too big. So more like this. Yeah, that's it. So as this was going sideways, it's kind of more like this, right? So yeah, okay, this is probably more correct, around about here. So if I just get the dates here, so the 20th or the 20th of December, I just want to make sure that I'm on the 20th of December here. Cool. So the next one along. All right. So you can see here, so this is the Pt I chart here. So I continue to show this relationship because I feel it's a very important relationship. Actually, I'm going to move it a little bit. I'm going to move it up. I'm just going to shift this because seeing the volume, I think, is a very important part of the story. So this is Atropa and down. So down is inversely related to Atropa. And then this is Pt I. So as Atropa and DAI is going down, Pt I has also basically been going sideways. That also looks wrong. No, what have I done there? That's wrong. Okay. Oh, goodness. That's actually the Atropa and DAI. So I must have deleted it altogether. So just give me a second. So bar patterns, let's just go all the way to the recent. So the 6th of April. And so let's go here to the 6th of April. Oh, where is it? Ah. Get rid of this one. Up into the present moment. Okay. That's more accurate, right? All right, wonderful. Maybe we can extend this to make it look more as it is, so we can really see the flow, because obviously this is sideways, and as this is going sideways, you can see this is going down. And so the price of Pt I is going down as this is going sideways. And at the moment, we're getting sideways action, which is also 3-day. So there, 3-day. So we're also getting sideways action, and it's been going basically down. So sideways action from down to Atropa. And so when Atropa was going down to die, then die was going up. You can see this here as well. When Atropa was going down to die, it started to go up. And then as Atropa started to go down to die, it started to go down. So there's an inverse relationship here between the two. And then between die and Atropa, which end up moving together, there's an inverse relationship between down and TSFI. So it's always good to look at these things, pay attention to these things. So again, we're at the 1.5 cent mark with Pt I. This is very interesting. My wish, my Christmas wish, is that we get down to this particular mark here, the 1.3 cent mark. Whether it goes lower than that, I have no idea. It'll be very interesting to see if it comes back down to this 1 cent mark, or maybe like retests this kind of wick here. And it's very plausible for it to happen within the January period. But in any case, that's the Atropa ecosystem to die. What's going on, Jesu? Moo to you too. So now, just zooming out to the rest of the Atropa ecosystem. So again, teddy bear. I'm really liking these Fibonacci's. You can really see the accuracy of these Fibonacci's, as a matter of fact. It's really quite accurate. But it could also be subjective, because, okay, what about these lines? Okay, yeah, great. Okay, we're bouncing off these lines, we're bouncing off these lines, but what about these ones here? There's obviously some kind of a level here, which is not being shown on the Fibonacci, which has always been why I've kind of steered clear of Fibonacci's. But these days, why not just add an extra layer? Trying to hone my skills with TA. So BFF that delete. Oh no, BFF that delete is below 8K. So everything now is also continuing to downtrend. And yeah, this is really something. I don't know if I should say it, because I don't know if it's a Moon King subscribers piece of alpha. But let's just say it going down makes sense. Put it that way. So yeah, this is obviously the down to Atropa. You can also see the TSFI to Atropa. They're inversely related. So Maria in the Amsterdam talk spoke about down being his profit-taking, basically being his profit-taking instrument, and then TSFI being the profit-taking instrument of his friends. So, hey Tano, 1982, Burak. Burak. So first of all, this is the first time that I've seen you comment, but is this the Burak that I've been interacting with in Telegram? I wonder if it is. I'm going to have to start steering away from Telegram DMs though. I get so much stuff on there. So okay, so before we get into the Fed stuff, did anyone watch the Maria's video from today? So Maria was basically quoting this, and he was showing the volume of this particular pair on PulseX. So he was showing, oh shoot, it's taking the whole thing. I just want to take this one. So I think it was, let's just double check this, if it was this particular pair. I didn't see which pair it was actually. But in the ever mysterious way of mariarahel, basically it was just a video. Does anyone know if it's him playing the guitar or if it's like some other music? I'm assuming it's him playing the guitar, which is really cool. I know that there was a few lads who went and bought a guitar off Maria back in the day, like I think earlier this year. So Maria's obviously really into guitars. So, okay, I think it was this one. Yeah, I think it was, and he basically had it on this, or maybe it was this, showing the liquidity or the volume. I can't remember. One of the two. So, oh, yuck, yuck, yuck. Gosh darn. All right, so I'm going to have to redo that. So, yeah, he just showed this, or essentially this, and talking about like some kind of a worm attack. So some of the boys were talking about creating a allow token or creating a liquidity pair with this token. And so if you wanted to get into this token, so this is what was apparently referred to as the worm token and this worm attack that he was talking about. I got in through no nukes. Yeah, I'm in here. So I bought some no nukes. I swapped No, I didn't buy no nukes. I had no nukes sitting in my wallet. Swapped it for this and then created a liquidity pool. So perhaps, I hope I'm not doing it now. Okay, I'm not doing it now. So perhaps it might be an idea to like set my auto buyer on this and just start working my way up in this, which would be pretty easy to do. Pretty easy to do, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that might be something that I do. And no one knows what he was talking about. He had a poll set up there in his YouTube video. He had a poll set up, and yeah, I didn't understand it. And I think people were speculating on it. He was talking about some kind of a blockchain attack, a blockchain worm attack or something like this. And I wondered, like, honestly speaking, one of the first things that popped into my mind was Too Spooky came into the Dysnomia chat yesterday and asked about the exotic pairs with the Atropa ecosystem. And look, if they're here for benevolent causes, great. But if they're here to like mess shit up, whatever. It's a blockchain, right? There's nothing we can do. But I just wondered, it's like, I wonder if they're up to no good, and then Maria spotted it and is going to do this kind of worm attack, because this worm is like this random coin that I had no idea about. I mean, this coin was created back in 2000, basically last year. So yeah, very, very interesting. Actually, I wonder when it was created. Sunny told me how to check the dates of creation, but he said you had to press some button and do something. And am I in dark mode here? Yeah, he said there was like something that you pressed. I should have paid more attention when he said that thing. But he said, yeah, there was like something that you could press to see when it was created. I suppose. Does anybody know? Hey, Mr. Rock Jockey, what's going on, man? But anyway, no one really knows. No one really. It seems like everyone in the community was just as confused as I was, which is good or bad, whatever way you want to say it. But yeah, I think also this script is related to the no nuke script, which is interesting. So yeah, I think it's related to the no nuke script. So I could be completely wrong. So I'll leave it at that with this one. So if we have a look at when this pair was created, 1 year, 3 months ago, and 5 days. So actually, maybe we'll be able to see approximately when it was created by just doing this and just organizing the pool age by the earliest pool age. So yeah, around September, middle to late September. What did I have here? Yeah, nothing. Oh, actually, you know what? In here, I'm going to post just very quickly gosh darn. What's going on, Aaron Mitchell? Yeah, if anyone wants to join, please feel free to join and discuss these things with me, because it's a Saturday night in Australia and it's always fun doing these things together. So if anyone Even if you have nothing really to contribute, you just want to come and say hi, please feel free to do that. So I've put the link there as well. 117 viewing. I'm going to close that now. So okay, let's get into the Fed. Let's get into the Fed stuff, which is, as always, I really enjoy diving deep into what the Atropa ecosystem is, and through these episodes, even though they're quite long, it's basically a way of me trying to figure these things out as I'm going over them with everybody on stream. And so eventually it's going to get to a point where hopefully it will be so clear in my mind that I'll be able to do like a very condensed version of what the Atropa ecosystem is. At the moment, I'm still trying to work everything out. So the Atropa financial system. What's up, Aaron Mitchell? What's up, Sard? Host me. I don't know what you mean by host me, Sard. But yeah, the link is in the description if you want to join, if that's what you're referring to. So the Atropa financial system. So these are just back in the old days of the Chatlog. I took some of these. I basically analyzed the Chatlog. And so this is from a video from well over a year ago, but I'm now or maybe a year ago, and I'm revisiting it. So he was talking about the Atropa ecosystem as being a financial system. And so the legal tender. So Origin is like government's mint dollars and can be drawn on the treasury bill and will have a specific purpose. A trust, which backs different currencies. For example, Teddy Bear backs treasury bill. So these are the financial instruments that he was saying the Atropa ecosystem was based on. Mint functions, so mintable tokens like MV, were intended to help burn Pulse Chain. And financial instruments, so assets that are manipulating token values and ratios. So essentially, the Atropa financial system was based on legal tenders, trusts, mint functions, and financial instruments. What's going on, and what's going on, Marcus? I haven't seen you around for a while, Marcus. Good to see you, man. I'm missing your strawberries. So let's see what Maria had to actually say about this. So Maria, the 414, at the time it was a 414 dev. Now it's the 501 dev because he's moved all his wallets. And at the time we thought, is this a woman? Is this a man? We don't know. Mariarahel, it's a feminine name, but it ended up being a dude. So it feels complete right now. As a gambit, it is winning. So this was a year ago, and still to this day, that statement holds true. Is it not winning? The locked liquidity set is designed to provide a token of a capital strategy that is ostensibly better than meme or even stable coins by retaining a fault bottom specific floor for buyers and a largely buffered loss on sales due to the buyer liquidity ratio. Tokens thus far represent the best of my capacity to define a legal tender complex financial instrument that satisfies all the requirements of the plays on money, including the fears associated with the absolute worst case scenarios. So I want to show this on the chart. The lock liquidity set is designed to provide a token of a capital strategy that is ostensibly better than meme or even stable coins by retaining a fault bottom specific floor for buyers and a largely buffered loss on sales due to the buy to liquidity ratio. So if we have a look at this in the chart, it's self-evident. It's really self-evident in the chart. So nice. Dip, 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 dip further, dip further. I got that Crimbo money coming in, baby. So if you're looking at, so this is if we just go to the USD value, are there not? What happened there? Oh, here we go. So Atropa Pt I. Look at these fault bottom floors. So we have these fault bottom floors. Fault bottom specific floors for buyers. So when the burnt liquidity is burnt, then it creates confidence in the market that they're not going to be sold on, which creates bottoms also by virtue of the burning of the liquidity because the holder of the liquidity pool can't sell it. So it creates a bottom for that liquidity that can only be bought into. I've done a video on that, which I thought was a really, really great video. How the Atropa ecosystem converts sell pressure into buy pressure. And due to the buy to liquidity ratio, tokens thus far represent the best of my capacity to define a legal, tender, complex financial instrument that satisfies all the requirements of the plays on money, including the fears associated with the absolute worst case scenarios. Some of the worst case scenarios obviously are rug pulls, scams, and the nature of the Atropa ecosystem and the way that he sets up the liquidity, the way that he sets up the tokens, the manner in which he does it, really removes a lot of these fears associated with those, this type of financial instrument called cryptocurrency. Okay, so let's continue on. So now I took a look at economic flow, and if you haven't seen it, St. Wolf does, of everyone, I would say it's probably my favorite. It's my favorite Atropa video. I should have linked it in the description, actually. It's my favorite Atropa video. He talks about the Atropa ecosystem as being the Wall Street of DeFi and how it replicates liquidity flow. So that was a part one. I'm going to have to start linking that in the description of my videos, actually, because it was that good. It blew my mind. I was like, wow. It's the things that Maria was talking about, it's the things that I was thinking about, but the way that he just put it in this really simple and elegant way was really just nailed it. I'm waiting for part two, Mr. Wolf. He said that was part one and part two. I haven't seen part two yet. So that's an exceptional video. And so he's talking about liquidity flows with Wall Street. And so now the economic flow of the economic system and how this relates to true DeFi. So economic flows is basically about the capital, so money, or in this instance with DeFi as tokens, and how it moves effortlessly through three stages that rely on trust, liquidity, and incentives. So it's really interesting that, I've a lot of this stuff I asked ChatGPT for. I'll do the research. I asked ChatGPT. So trust was the very first thing. So it's quite interesting that mariarahel, the major part of this ecosystem is about the trust in the system. So first, so it talks about the three stages. So the first stage is the creation and storage of value. So in other words, depositing and investing. So in other words, people like myself coming in and buying Atropa tokens or Teddy Bear or what was this other one that we talked about just now? Worm or Pt I. Pt I is not an Atropa ecosystem token, but it's closely related to the Atropa ecosystem. So this conception of people creating and storing value. And so in the traditional financial system, it savers deposit funds or investments in the stock market, real estate, commodities, leaving your money in the bank for interest, so on and so forth. So in this DeFi system, it's about buying the tokens. So the next point, the next stage is intermediation. So funds that channel value to borrowers or investors. So in the traditional financial system, it's financial institutions are channeling this value to borrowers or investors. So financial institutions like the banks channeling this value to borrowers or investors. So people who are having a mortgage, or obviously with that mortgage, then they will take that money and then invest it out. So they're the intermediaries in that economic system. In this particular economic system, the intermediaries really are the liquidity, well, not really are. Probably a piece of that is the liquidity providers, and the other big piece is Maria. And the other big piece is where people like ourselves who are investing in the Atropa ecosystem are putting our capital. And then the final stage is a circulation. So borrowers or businesses that use funds driving economic activity, which generates returns that cycle back into savings. So borrowers or businesses use funds So in other words, borrowing money, which drives economic activity, which generates returns that cycle back into savings. So it's really quite interesting seeing this concept related to PDI, for example. We're talking about this peg with the PDI, the pegging. And if PDI pegs, then we have this stable asset that we can borrow against or that we can take out and reinvest. So it's going to drive economic activity, which is liquidity flows throughout all of Pulse Chain and throughout the Atropa ecosystem, which will in turn generate returns that cycle back into the savings in the way that there's going to be people that will profit from that, and the people that profit from that end up putting it back into PDI or put it back into Atropa or back into Teddy Bear, whatever that is. And we see that same pattern occurring through liquidity flows all throughout cryptocurrency as well. So at its core, the flow, again, relies on this trust, the liquidity and incentives that align the goals of savers, borrowers, and intermediaries. Okay, so the Federal Reserve, because the conception of the Fed, or the FUD, as it's called, I mean, it's Well, Maria calls it OT, if you pronounce it in the English way, but in the Korean way, it's so the FUD, the FUD. So the Federal Reserve, which is a private scam, as we know, because it's just controlled by a bunch of families, the Rockefellers and whoever they are. So it's just a big scam. So the Federal Reserve is not, if it was owned by the government and the government was righteous, I would have no issues whatsoever with the Federal Reserve, actually. But the fact that it's privately owned by a bunch of families makes it the biggest Ponzi scam on the planet that everybody is adhering to, willingly or unwillingly. I didn't even know that one of my best friends is a partner for one of the biggest financial firms in Australia. And I told him that the Federal Reserve was a privately owned company. And he was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Bro, it's a privately owned company. It's the biggest Ponzi scam on the planet." And he calls crypto a Ponzi. I'm like, yeah, it is a Ponzi. Everything's a Ponzi. So the Federal Reserve, so the function of the Federal Reserve is that it ensures enough money is in the economy to provoke growth without inflation, without causing too much inflation. So they adjust the circulating supply to influence rates and values. So it's like a thermostat. When things get too cold or too hot, they will adjust the settings to create some kind of a equilibrium. So essentially, the Fed ensures that there's enough money in the economy to promote growth without causing too much inflation. So they do this by adjusting the amount of money circulating the economy and influencing the interest rates. So for example, if the economy is slowing down, the Fed lowers the interest rates to make borrowing cheaper, and this encourages spending and investment. The other thing is they stabilize prices. And so when it comes to the Atropa ecosystem, stabilizing prices through the Fed, through our FUD, is with minting and burning. So this is something that Maria can mint the treasury bill, and then other people can mint against the treasury bill and then sell and or even burn tokens. Maria can burn tokens as well. So this is how prices are stabilized within our Federal Reserve. But the function of the Federal Reserve is to basically keep prices stable so they control inflation. So the Fed prevents extreme rises, which is inflation, or falls, which is deflation in prices, by managing the money flow. So for example, if inflation gets too high, the Fed will raise interest rates to slow down spending and reduce price increases. So this is how they control it. And promotes employment. Obviously, again, I'm trying to relate this to the Atropa ecosystem Fed, and the way that I'm seeing that we're promoting employment is through the button clicking of, say, dysnomia ecosystem, or through liquidity providing, through those two means essentially. But button clicking, just clicking the buttons, buying and selling and minting and burning, adding to liquidity, all this button clicking. So the Fed aims to create conditions where people who want jobs can find them. So by balancing inflation and economic growth, it tries to keep unemployment low. And so, it's the same in Australia as well. We have the Reserve Bank of Australia, which keeps, that people who are borrowing money people who have a mortgage for a house, they're getting wrecked by the Federal Reserve in Australia, the Reserve Bank of Australia, rather, because of the interest rates. And it sucks, and it's difficult for a lot of people. I know it's difficult for a lot of people, but also at the same time, I have friends who are living within their means and they didn't over leverage. And so the interest rates, while they suck, they're also not in a position where it can be their financial ruin because they've scaled up their housing according to their income, so they're borrowing accordingly. Some people are over leveraging, they're getting too greedy, and they're feeling the pain for that. And this is really just an energetic function of society. So the next one is that it promotes overseas banks. Interestingly, with this, I'm thinking of P stables. So yeah, we have all these different potential stable coins on Pulse Chain. So we're talking about the Treasury bill here, obviously with the Federal Reserve, with the Atropa ecosystem. But outside of that, there's PUSDC, there's PUSDT, and of course the big daddy Pt I. And so I wonder if this formulates a key part of monitoring the overseas banks with how they function outside of the Atropa ecosystem. So the Fed obviously ensures that banks operate safely and don't take excessive risks. It monitors and regulates banks to protect depositors and maintain trust in the banking system. So this is what they do. This is another function of the Federal Reserve. And finally, lenders, which is as a last resort. So we have the money printer. And obviously, when it comes to the Atropa ecosystem, it's minting the Treasury bill. So obviously with the Fed, in times of financial crises, the Fed provides emergency funding to banks or financial institutions to prevent an economic collapse. So we had the GFC in 2008. And I was very critical of that. And I still am very critical of that. But also at the same time, I can see why the bailouts happened, because it would have just led to a state of pure anarchy. And so it's almost like, if you connect the dots, it's almost like all this COVID. I mean, it depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. It's all this like vaccine stuff is a way of like nurturing compliance and testing our compliance. So when the time comes that the economic system does collapse, instead of just printing money, which is obviously just patching it up with band-aids, they're going to propose or present something different, which at the time they didn't have, but I'm sure that they're trying to work it out. But they can keep working it out, but we've already figured it out with the Atropa Eco. Well, I haven't figured it out. Maria's figured it out with the Atropa ecosystem, as far as I'm concerned. So an example of this is obviously, the 2008 financial crisis. So, okay, so Federal Reserve tools. So they do buying and selling of government bonds. So they inject money by buying bonds or selling bonds to take money out. And if I look at this within the Atropa ecosystem, you can mint tokens. So the Treasury bill is connected to a variety of different tokens, which you can mint one-to-one. You can burn tokens. And then as tokens are being minted one-to-one, they can be sold against each other for profit. So there's all these, they're almost like the government bonds in a way. So so the Fed will basically buy these bonds to inject money into the economy, or sell the bonds to take money out of circulation. So that's how we're doing it with the buying and the burning. And we saw this when Maria minted 7.7 million Treasury bill, but then burnt a heap of BFF at the loot. Adjusting rates. So they set benchmarks, so affecting borrowing and savings. And the way the Fed does this is, the Fed sets a benchmark interest rate that affects borrowing and saving throughout the whole economy. And so the way that Maria is doing this is by, I'm just speculating here, right? I don't know if this is the way that Maria is doing it, but this is what I'm kind of seeing by trying to learn about the Fed, is that Maria is doing this by creating different kinds of tokens where the liquidity can flow. So instead of adjusting interest rates that affect borrowing and saving throughout the economy, Maria's just creating new tokens which will affect where people are moving their money and flowing their money. And so obviously today we saw another example of that with this worms. changing the reserve requirements by controlling reserves and lending. So it controls how much money banks must keep in reserve and how much they can lend out. So this is programmed into the code of the Fed and all the tokens that are one-to-one with the Fed. Okay, so the very last slide. So the Federal Reserve importance. So the importance of the Federal Reserve is basically it's an economic referee. So it ensures the economy doesn't grow too fast, which is inflation, or go too slow, which leads to unemployment. And so if I apply this to the Atropa ecosystem, again, we have all these different ratios and proportions of tokens that Maria basically has this overarching perspective on and just manipulates liquidities and liquidity flows and sells these tokens into here and those tokens into there to basically, Maria is currently the economic referee. And the other thing that the Federal Reserve does is it creates stability. And the way that it does this is it helps businesses, investors, and consumers to move their money with confidence. And this is something that Maria is also doing. So if you look at G-Baby, that the GWAT, this is a clear example of this kind of a principle where creating this token, saying this is where it's going to go, this is what it can do. It can get up to 14,800. It can go down to 10 cents or whatever it was. And the market has the confidence in Maria. So the market is following the mathematical predictions of Maria because it's just based on math. If Maria sells his token supply, this is the price that it's going to get to. If people buy it and Pt I goes to $1, then this is the price that it's also going to get to, 14,800. Maybe that's just my speculation. Maria could also, I also feel like Maria says this shit sometimes to kind of like get people to buy things. So yeah. Anyway, that's the little presentation on the Fed. I'm just going to go through some of these comments. I won't go too long tonight. Marcus, yeah, where's those strawberries, bro? 3M63, nice, man. Nice to meet you. I haven't seen you in here before. Mr. Cat. Oh, Mr. Cat. I would love, Mr. Cat. Yeah, if you want to join up, bro, I would love to hear your perspective as a Wall Street guy on what you think. The link is in the description. As a matter of fact, I'm going to post it again if you want to join. I would really, really love to hear your perspective as a Wall Street guy on on what the Atropa ecosystem means to you. So like I said earlier in the video, St. Wolf did a fantastic video on the Atropa ecosystem as the Wall Street of DeFi. So I'd love to hear what your perspective is on this because I'm an architect. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial guy. I've tried to learn about these things. And I know that we have someone in the community who is we got Ben Potvin. I'm pretty sure he's in economy. He's in the financial world, and he's got a very deep understanding of all of this. He's got a very deep and intuitive understanding of all of this. I should really ask him to come and do a chat one day. Actually, I've never thought to do that. He's done a chat with Access Alive, but it would be a really good idea to chat to Ben Potvin. Pt I Instapeg any day now. Yeah, Ryan, wasn't that exciting? And I know Wrapped Bitcoin, the Pulse Chain Wrapped Bitcoin, the Better Bitcoin, after the Better Bitcoin, which is Hex, it got to 33K. I was just like, yes, for the culture, for the culture. Said video, Daniel Lopez. I'm not sure what you're talking about, brother. Daniel Lopez, said video, episode 1. Unless you're talking about St. Wolf's video with the episode 1. Maybe it was episode 1, not part 1. I was assuming that there was going to be another part to it. And I think I recall by the end of the video, it was like, oh, it seems like there's more to go. So not to rag, but I'm surprised he wasn't aware of that. Who's this in relation to Jesu? Obviously, as you guys make these comments, I'm a little bit behind on the comments. So yeah, who's that in relation to, Jesu? Good morning, bud. How's it going, man? Washington, D.C. is owned by the City of London and the Vatican so that they have total control over the money printing in the Federal Reserve. Super Chelsea, rather. I've heard this kind of a theory before. I'm not refuting that theory. I'll stay open to everything. Yeah, I've heard it before, and I'll leave it at that. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. Money, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The families that control the Federal Reserve will have been the most powerful families from Europe prior to even America being established as America. So it kind of makes total sense, to be perfectly honest. Hey, Maddie, AI good in the hood. Good morning, brother. Maria building his own in order to replace the Fed, decentralized and trustless. Exactly, man. Hey, Marcus, thanks for the strawberries, man. Good morning, DJ and Hexican. What's going on, man? Sorry, mate. I sent the link of St. Wolf. Ah, okay. Yeah, maybe you can't send links in the descriptions. People have come because I don't delete the comments, right? So if you send things, then yeah, someone also mentioned that maybe if you just can't send links in the comments, or when you go to, I'm pretty sure you can't send links in the comments. Maybe I know that you can send a link in the description, like in the comments after the video, but in the chat, I don't think that you can. So unless it's something to do with my settings that I can adjust, maybe it auto deletes. I'm not too sure. I'll have to investigate that. So in any case, let's get into the Federal Reserve now. So, I mean, this was another thing, man. Visa. I mean, whether it's Visa or not. So on this particular website, mint.aff.icu, I'll post this. So this is one thing that I was doing. So this is an example of this function, right? So Visa to Fed. So 24 Fed to 1 Visa. And in this particular process, now I've done videos on setting up a bot, a minting bot, which I'm not going to go through because I have done videos on that. So if you want to look at the Affection minting bot, you might actually be able to use the Affection minting bot. Oh, nice. This is a 33% profit. So you might actually be able to use the Affection minting bot to, or at the very least, use it as the building block for another minting bot where you can mint this through the bot. Because if you just sit here and clicking, I mean, look at this. I sit here and click. I gotta wait for bloody Rabby wallet to load. That's horrendously slow. I don't know if it's my computer. It used to be faster, man. My computer's really... So then we have to wait for it to pend. It's just so slow, bro. And so then you're going to get 3 cents out of that. So I've done this process just to show you guys this example. So obviously 24 Fed in the contract is equal to, so 24 of this Fed is equal, 24 of Visa. 24 of Visa is equal to 1 of these Fed. So in other words, what's happening here is we're minting 24 Fed to get 1 Visa. Now, the reason why this is profitable is because at the moment, I'll show you why. Fed, Visa. Oh, is it the other way around? I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's this way. So 1 Visa is equal to 36 Fed. So I'm showing you guys this. This is a great arbitrage opportunity. If anyone wants to take the time to either sit here and click, which you can do. And I've shared this. I shared this website with someone in Kenya. And I'm not sure how much they used it with the Sigma token. But yeah, anyone who is in a place where this actually pays better than doing your job. I mean, okay, I can sit here and click these buttons, and I did it a few times, and I ended up getting 10 of these tokens. So that's 89 cents, which is almost one. I can mint another one of those, another couple, and it's $1. So if your hourly wage to the US dollar is less than $5, going through this process, you get much more money than $5 an hour. Of course, this won't last. So at the moment, the profit is a 33% profit. But as people continue to do this, where they'll buy Fed. So basically all I did was buy Fed with Treasury bill. So I'd go through the liquidity route. So where is it? The Fed. So this is the Fed. So I'd go through the liquidity route. And one of the top ones was the Fed. Another one was Hux. So I had some Treasury bill in this wallet. So I bought some of the Fed token. And then with the Fed token, because you need 24 to mint this. And now I can sell. I'm just going to sell all of them. So I'm selling them for a profit. So I can keep doing this and cycling this process where I'm basically in the contract, the minting is the ratio is 24-1. But at the moment, I can sell it 36-1. So I'm making a 33% profit. So if I do this continuously, or if I have some kind of minting bot that does it, eventually this gap is going to close and it will end up being not profitable, or it will be like equal. But the point of showing this is that there's all these tokens that are being set up. And so on this website, which is made by Not Helios. Oh, not Helios. Bay 2.0. So Not Helios has put all these tokens under here. So when you go to Atropa and you would click on all these different tokens. So essentially you would have to, I've shown how to do this process before, where you can get the contract ABI and you can do it through the smart contract GUI. You can do it through that, or you can just do it through here. And so obviously through the smart contract GUI, it's actually a lot faster because you can specify how much you want to mint rather than just being beholden to this. And so obviously the interesting thing with this is all of these tokens. So the reserve, the federal reserve the Fed is mintable 1-to-1 with Treasury bill from memory. Let's see. Yeah. So 1,000 Treasury bill is equal to 1,000 Fed. And so at the moment, the value is not profitable. So here the value is profitable. So I can continue this process and I'll end up continuing to make a profit. And then I would sell that. So basically I'm with the Fed minting the Visa and then selling the Visa back into the Fed. And then I'll buy more, mint more Visa, sell it back into the Fed, and eventually I'll end up with more Fed than I began with. And if it depends on the way that I want to do it, I can also keep some Visa, keep some Fed, create a liquidity pool, and then I'm selling into my own liquidity pool, which is a play that I think is really quite an interesting play. So all of these tokens now, so Mufti to Treasury bill is also 1-to-1. So the Fed to Treasury bill is 1-to-1. Mufti to Treasury bill is 1-to-1. So 1,000 to 1,000, which is 1-to-1. So I'll often look through here to see if there's any kind of a deal. So there's all these different tokens. And I know that Tabor, in one of Maria's videos, was talking about a community, not a community takeover, but basically, let's have a look at this actually. Basically talking about Tabor, like, well, if the community does something with it, then I'm going to be interested in it. So he's got all these different options, which are all doing the same thing. These are all 1-to-1 with Treasury bill. So from the perspective of the Federal Reserve, if we have the Fed, which can be minted 1-to-1 with Treasury bill, and then Treasury bill can be minted 1-to-1 with all these different tokens, by virtue of that, it's going to create a stabilizing force of the Fed and of the Treasury bill, just by virtue of that. Because people like myself or people that are watching this channel are going to keep continuing to watch when there's a deal with this. So here, if we look at Tabor, and guys, this stuff is so easy. I don't provide the contract addresses because I really want people to learn, but it's all on the website. So this website, mint.aff.icu, it's all here. You just hover over and let's see what this button, oh, damn it. It's not going to tell me what this button does, but, oh, not Helios. You magnificent, magnificent son of a bitch. You magnificent son of a bitch. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do that right now because I was doing it one-to-one. You magnificent son of a bitch. I didn't even know to click those buttons. So, yeah, you could have been sitting here clicking these buttons. Now you've just... he's not done it on this one. All right, fair play, fair play. All right, so we'll go back to Tabor. So in any case, in some of them you can... I mean, it just pays to just click buttons. It pays to click buttons, see what's there. This one is a chart one. This is the information where I can get the contract address here. Why is it doing that? It shouldn't be doing that. I'm going to set. Okay, thank you very much. Now let me press that. Okay, it's bugged out. It's bugged out. It's making a fool of me. It's making a fool of me. But here I should be able to click the contract address, but somehow it's bugged out. So not Helios, if you're watching this, yeah, somehow that bugs out. So I got the contract address. So this is why. Obviously, when you mint it, so let's go treasury bill. And was it this one? So, Tabor. So 1,000 to 1,000. So it's running at a loss. So if we flip that around, it's running at a loss because I'm minting 1,000 treasury bill, and we can see it obviously here as well. I mean, he's designed it so well that it's telling you that you're running at a loss if you go through this process. But obviously, when this process is profitable, in the same way that we saw with Visa and Fed, this is going to be like a not negative number. It's going to be a positive number. So what you would end up doing is you'd end up selling, you'd burn your treasury bill and mint Tabor, and then you would sell your Tabor into treasury bills. So one of the things that I was doing with Luke, for example, with this particular, with this wallet was, and let's actually have a look at Luke, just out of curiosity. I was doing that with Luke. So basically, so they're all, so I bought treasury bill with my teddy bear. I was minting Luke, and then I sold Luke into treasury bear after I created a liquidity pool. I can't remember what I did in this, just the way that I did it, but yeah, burnt some treasury bill for some Luke, and I still had treasury bill. Then I had some Luke, put that in the liquidity pool. Then I burnt more treasury bill for Luke, and then started selling the Luke into the treasury bill. So then it's selling it through my liquidity pool. And so I think that's the play. And so I think when it comes to Tabor, Maria really wants us as a community to get behind this. And I'll be very curious to see how much liquidity has been added to this, and if the community has actually gotten behind it, because I'm not sure that they have. So one of his videos, he mentioned, basically, I mean, it was my interpretation of what he said, and I could be completely wrong. And again, when you start to look at these ratios, I mean, yeah. Let's have a look at Tabor, and I'll just go through some of these comments while that's loading. I like the idea of Maria's system a lot better. Loving this stream so far. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hello, Michael. Nice to see you in here, man. Familiar faces. New face. Next to the light like a moth. Nice to meet you in here, man. I've never seen you comment before, so thanks for joining. In Teddy we trust. Yeah, Maria definitely trusts Teddy, bro. Good morning, Clintrons. The new teddy bear standard of currencies is ready, according to 414. I'm excited to see how this plays out. No FOMO. Teddy bear standard of currencies being the fact that the teddy bear backs the treasury bill. And oh boy, the fact that the teddy bear backs the treasury bill is just another like mega bullish thing for treasury bill getting to $1. I mean, You got the Moon King just shilling the absolute hell out of the Treasury bill. And if I don't know how much of the supply Maria owns of teddy bear anymore, but yeah, if some of that supply can flow into Treasury bill now, or maybe there's a function between Treasury bill and burning teddy bear to mint Treasury bill, I wonder. I'm not too sure. Okay, so what's actually happened with Tabor? Yeah, so the community hasn't really taken it on. So I don't know, guys. Maybe it's something that it's worth doing as a community. So obviously we can see I haven't even created any liquidity pools with this actually, so I can't really talk. But yeah, putting some liquidity to this I think is a good idea, especially if Maria suggested this as a community, just to see where the community's at. So obviously as a community, if we're interacting, so I don't know if Bud is still in here. So Bud has often spoken about how can I support the Atropa ecosystem. I feel like this here is a perfect example of how you can support the Atropa ecosystem and benefit from it by providing liquidity in one of these assets where I mean I would get Tabor and Treasury bill. I would add that to liquidity, because as the ratios start to shift, again, you're minting 1-to-1. So as the ratio shifts, it's always going to stay lockstead in. I mean, you can already see it here, right? It's always going to stay lockstead in some kind of a ratio. So I guess, yeah, this is, I mean, at the moment, it's in a discrepancy. So it should be around about here, maybe, perhaps. So if that's the case, and you have like the foresight where, for example, I mean, yeah, right now, obviously it's the opposite, but if I have a lot of Treasury bill, this is, this for me is like the interesting play now. If I have a lot of Treasury bill and this kind of scenario happens, then I can be the one that brings the value back to the 1-to-1 that it should be, where we're going to eventually see this being, at the moment, it's a negative discrepancy because the ratio is against, yeah, the ratio is against Tabor. So it's bad for Tabor. So in other words, to burn Treasury bill for Tabor, it's not profitable then to sell the Tabor into Treasury bill. But if you're someone who like, okay, I want to support this Federal Reserve, I want to be part of this Federal Reserve, I'm just going to have shitloads of Treasury bill. And the Don, I don't know if the Don foresaw any of this, but yeah, the Don basically constantly spoke to me about Treasury bill. And I was just like, I don't get what's going on with Treasury bill, but he was really emphatic about Treasury bill. But I don't know if he knew any of this was coming. So if I had tons of Treasury bill and I was just, let's just say I had like 1 million Treasury bill, and let's just say I had 1 million Treasury bill, which probably is not a bad play if we think it's going to go to $1. Really good play, actually. So I have 1 million Treasury bill, and then I wait for these instances where the ratio becomes, you're just keeping your eye on this chart, and obviously at the minute the ratio is against Tabor, but there'll come a time where the ratio is for Tabor. So minting, let's say it gets up to here, minting or burning 1,000 Treasury bill for 1,000 Tabor, and then selling 1,000 Tabor for 1,500 Treasury bill is obviously a profitable scenario. So the fact that there's all these different tokens which have that mechanism, which is going to help keep the Treasury bill in this equilibrium, and the fact that, I mean, this is just one example, one of the tokens, Tabor. You got Mufti, you got Fed, so you have all these tokens. So it's a really, really, really interesting dynamic. So Maria also released Voltaire today. Most people don't know Voltaire. I'm not going to say that word, Maria, but apparently it doesn't mean that. Apparently it means hidden. So we'll take that as it is. But yeah, there's no liquidity. I mean, this is wigged out actually because it says the total liquidity is 20,000, 9mm V3. Ooh, 9mm V3. Ooh, that's a bit disconcerting. But yeah, it's showing the total liquidity only with these two values, not with the 9mm. So yeah, this one was just released today. Hey, my boy, good stuff, my boy. Get in there. Then we have the Fed. So the Fed is 39,000. Then you have, and again, with the concepts of like a financial ecosystem, we have the bullion now, which is bullion gold standard. So there's all these different things where it's like hex invalidates the conception of investing. Why would I put my money into Amazon, wait for price appreciation when I can put it into hex, get price appreciation plus interest? Why would I put my money in a bank savings account when I can put into hex, which gives me price appreciation plus interest? So it invalidates a lot of the financial industry. It really, as a concept, invalidates so much of the financial industry, which is why they're really going after our boy Dickie Hart. And so now we have this Federal Reserve System, we have this gold bullion. So if those things are, which Richard constantly talks about, like if you own a stock in Amazon or McDonald's, you can't go there and get anything changed on the menu. You can't do anything. You can't impose any kind of a change on the system. It's really just like an arbitrary, it's like a symbolic thing. You're owning this thing and you're selling it at a higher price against somebody else. So essentially we're doing that with cryptocurrency. So it's the same thing with this gold bullion. So eventually maybe our gold is going to be better than Peter Schiff's gold, which will be absolutely hilarious because, I mean, gold is just, it's just another bunch of BS, right? If there's a war, like people always talk about this, like, well, gold has some intrinsic value. Bro, they're not coming for your gold that you dug up in your backyard. They're not coming for that gold if they need it, man. They're not coming for that gold. They're gonna ravage the vaults of all the central banks that have gold. They're not coming for the gold in your backyard. And if there's some kind of like zombie apocalypse war, are you gonna trade your gold for, if I have food? I don't want your gold. I want my food. What am I going to do with your gold? What am I going to do with your gold? I'm going to start banana, and I'm going to start, banana iPhones, and I'm just going to create this company in this like dystopian society where like there's only zombies. Like what am I going to do with your gold? Nothing. It's crazy. So it's just this like idea in our heads of what it is. And this is not to say don't own gold, because I actually think it's like a viable investment instrument. But the liquidity flows of the traditional financial system goes from here, it goes into commodities, and it goes here to stocks, and whatever way that it flows. It's probably something that I also need to analyze. But now we're replicating all of that within the Atropa ecosystem. So this is also another very, very interesting conception. So we do need to stream again. We do need to stream again for sure, man. I'm down. Always love to hang out. Let's set something up for next week for sure, bro. Yeah, maybe next Sunday. Let's DM each other. Maybe next Sunday. Supposedly means conceal in Hindi. Still feels wrong to. It does. It really, really does. It does feel wrong to say it. So, yeah, guys. So I feel like there's lots of opportunities. This is what Maria was talking about all these years ago. So if I go back to this, if I just go back to this and finish up on this, if there's any questions, please ask. But if I go back to this, and I was trying to understand this at the time, where we have the Ojun can be drawn on the treasury bill and will have a specific purpose. So that's what it was at the time. Obviously now we have all these other tokens, which I've just shown, which can be drawn on the treasury bill. We have the trust, which is backed by different currencies. For example, Teddy Bear backs treasury bill. We have mint functions. So obviously, you're minting and burning these tokens. And the financial instruments, which is assets manipulating token values and ratios. So I look at this from a year ago and say, okay, Maria has spoken about the completion of the Atropa ecosystem, has spoken about this Korean symboled financial system related to the treasury bill. In the Amsterdam talk, treasury bill is projected to be $1. We have all these tokens which are connected to it, which are mintable one-to-one, which you can set ratios up in between. And again, look at Visa. I mean, again, Visa is like a credit system. So we have gold, we have a credit system, we have a Federal Reserve. And my understanding of the economy is not a deep understanding, unfortunately. So, but just seeing Visa, I'm like, oh, maybe this has got something to do with the credit system and the way the credit system interrelates with the economic system. And then that principle is being replicated here. So, who are the richest people in the world? The people who, I mean, some of the richest people are like, bankers, the people who are providing the liquidity for the credit system, the liquidity for the Federal Reserve. Like those are the ones that are really making it. So I'm looking at this going, well, if this really takes off, if this really goes somewhere, I don't know which is going to be the best one, but it seems to me like there's this abundance of opportunities. I mean, the Fed has 39K. There's this abundance of opportunities, and Maria's almost like willing us to enter into this system and become the custodians of this system. The FUD. What's that? What is that? Oh, wow. I haven't seen that one before. The FUD. Who made this, you cheeky dog? Let's investigate that just very quickly before I sign out. The FUD. Because, yeah, that's actually, I mean, that's Tubble. Was this one on the FUD? No, this was Voltaire. Where's the FUD? Is it over here, maybe? Damn it. All right, I don't actually have it up. But yeah, that's actually, it's in Korean. So it's like food. Or it's It's not is like a is which is probably not correct. I mean, it is correct, but I don't know whether it's the right direction. Oh yeah, it's the correct direction. It goes like this, and then like, oh no, it's the wrong direction. Damn it! So it goes down, or actually, they do everything from left to right and top to bottom. The FUD is a brilliant. You're right, Maddie. The FUD is a brilliant name. So, the FUD Reserve. The FUD Reserve. Whoever this is, you cheeky dog. You cheeky dog. Oh, who's this? Who is this? I wonder if this is a dysnomia token. Or maybe it's I think maybe I might know who this is. He's been just going crazy with all these sorts of tokens. So D okay, so it's not Maria, we know. The creator's not 414 or 501. You cheeky dog. So yeah, I mean it's fun, right? So yeah, you got to do your research, right? 7 holders. So yeah, but yeah. In any case, I round this up. So Visa 433 liquidity. I'm looking at this as though I feel like I've largely missed out on the liquidity providing of the Atropa ecosystem in its early days, in its genesis days. But I'm looking at this new branch that's being built out by Maria, and I want to be a liquidity provider in it. I want to be someone that provides liquidity in it. I don't want to be trading. I want to just like, if somehow this system is something that Maria controls and manipulates over time, I want to just be like sitting there, providing the liquidity and just keep flowing liquidity into the system, and that's enough. without having to buy things and sell things. And that's my part, just being a liquidity provider. So I see this as that opportunity. So awesome. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much, Maddie. Thanks for the alpha. I don't know how much alpha this actually was. It really doesn't feel like alpha. I just feel like I'm up here just babbling like a pagan up here. So I'm doing the best that I can. So I need to leave the link in the description more so people are more willing to join up. But yeah, obviously the more that people come up here and help me, the better it is, because I'm just one dude. But thanks, Maddie. I appreciate that you think it's alpha rather. Have a nice weekend also. It's Saturday night here. So everybody have a nice weekend. Have a nice day. Take care. And thank you, Mark.